Hey, what's going on, you guys? Jordan over here at the Movie Den. I hope you all are doing well. So guys, every once in a while, there's a horror film that comes out that really takes the horror community by storm. In recent years, I think of films like Late Night with the Devil. You've got films like In a Violent Nature that just seem to come out of nowhere and everyone's raving about it and talking about how incredible the film is. You've got your naysayers and stuff, but generally it's very well received. And the film we're going to be talking about today, I absolutely believe belongs in the conversation of similar types of films. And to top it off and make it even better, it's getting a physical release from one of the best boutique labels out there, which is Second Sight. The film is this Norwegian body horror fairy tale, The Ugly Stepsister. Now, full transparency, this was sent over to me from the movie room to check out. So huge thanks to Michael and Deb over at the movie room for sending this over. This video would not be possible without you guys. Now, before we dive into this film, because this is going to be a lengthy video, let's take a look at this box set right here from Second Sight. Now, as you can see, I mean, the box set is just elegant. I mean, it's almost as elegant as the film itself. Now, for those who have seen the film, you're probably laughing at me calling the film elegant. And it is in its own way. Visually speaking, it is stunning. It's a period piece, so there are very elegant things about it. The set pieces, the costuming, and I think the box set perfectly represents that. On the front, you have the Ugly Stepsister herself, Elvira, in the film. Let's go to the back. We've got a tapeworm egg, which we'll talk about later. On the spine right here, you've got the Ugly Stepsister, same as on the front, and it just makes sense that the word ugly right there is done in like a script font, supposed to represent beauty. Anyways, so there is that. Inside our digipack right here, we've got the blue from Cinderella's dress with the silkworms right there. On the back, you have, in the film, her name is Agnes, but Cinderella right there for you. And then on the inside, I actually have the 4K in my player right now, but you get a 4K and a Region B Blu-ray. Okay, so there is the digipack. We're also getting some art cards right here. Let me go ahead and get these out. So there's nothing on the back on these. We'll go ahead and take a look. This is the Ugly Stepsister Elvira in the film. There you go. There's during the ball scene. There you go. While they're doing their rehearsal for the dance. More shots of Elvira. There you are. And one of the highlights of the film, part of the body horror, this scene was actually in the trailer, her getting her nose job in the film. So guys, there is all of the art cards coming in this set. And lastly, we are getting our booklet right here. This incredible booklet that only Second Sight can do. We got Elvira right there. On the back is the slipper, the glass slipper in the story. It's not glass in this one. Let's go ahead and fan through this here, guys. This thing, I think it's 120 pages. Well, 100, okay, not quite 120. It's like 116 pages. And we're getting a lot of great essays in here, but we'll talk more about those a little later. And guys, like we've come to expect from Second Sight, everything that they put in this release has just been thoughtfully put together, aesthetically and content-wise. Now, I remember the first time I saw this film, it was actually last year when it premiered on Shudder. So if you guys want to do like a try before you buy, if you have the Shudder app and a Shudder subscription, it is on there. But just like I felt then, I feel the same now after watching this like 3 times. I would classify this as a modern masterpiece. I really would. Now, at its core, The Ugly Stepsister is a retelling of the classic Cinderella story. This one clearly takes inspiration from the Brothers Grimm version of the tale, the darker, more grittier version of Cinderella. But what makes this one very interesting and even a little different is it's telling the story through the lens of the Ugly Stepsister, hence the title, The Ugly Stepsister. Elvira, or the Ugly Stepsister, in many ways kind of becomes the protagonist in this film, and Cinderella or like I said, Agnes, as she's called in the film, we're going to go by Cinderella just for ease of the conversation, can be viewed as the antagonist in this film, depending how you interpret the events. The film opens like a fairly traditional Cinderella story. Stepmother and her two daughters go off and move in with Cinderella and her father in this grand mansion. And not long after, Cinderella's father does die. And that's when we start to get an idea and a taste of what we're in for the film. In terms of gore and body horror, is they're at a dinner table and the father, it doesn't really talk about how he dies, if it's a heart attack or anything like that, but he just coughs and just spits blood all over Cinderella's face and he dies. And then the story kicks off. And from then on, you begin to realize this isn't your standard fairy tale. And that's when the story starts to carve its own path. Now, so after Cinderella's father dies, we begin to learn that Cinderella's father and the stepmother actually deceive each other and tricking each other into thinking the other one is very well off and rich and wealthy, when in actuality, neither one of them have any money. And because of that, the only real chance for the family to survive is that both Elvira and Cinderella have to try and win the hand of the prince. In this film, it is Prince Julian. And from there on is where the film really starts to lean in to that body horror aspect of the film. With the help of Elvira's mother, she began to alter herself, not only to win the hand of the prince, but also to become more, in their eyes, beautiful and more desirable than Cinderella herself. And the lengths she goes to in this film are pretty horrific. There's like a brutal nose job she gets. There's a scene where she literally gets eyelashes sewn into her eyelids with a needle and string. She swallows a tapeworm egg to lose weight. And then the story eventually leads to the infamous scene of her chopping off her toes to fit into Cinderella's slippers. All of this is done in pursuit of the prince, who, by the way, is not that great of a dude. He's actually pretty disgusting in the film. They make a point to show that in this movie, and he's not a great guy. What's really interesting is that the director in this film goes out of her way to not make Cinderella this Disney-esque princess that we've come to know and love. She isn't the perfect, innocent figure. She's much more nuanced than Disney's version. And at times, not really a great person. Early in the film, though, after her father dies, the stepmother actually treats her very, very well. Almost like one of her own. I'm actually going to set this down. But that all changes once Cinderella is caught sleeping with the stable boy. Someone who she claims that she does truly love and wants to run off with. But in this story, this completely changes everything because she is no longer a virgin, which is what these women have to be to marry the prince. The stepmother, once she finds out, completely turns on her and sees her as someone who's really damaged her own value in her eyes. And that is where we start to see the classic tale of the evil stepmother treating her very poorly, sending her off to do all of the duties around the house, basically scum beneath their feet. But the film also uses this moment, and subsequently later in the film, to show that she's really not this pure-hearted romantic that we know from Cinderella. Yes, she claims she loves the stable boy, but at the opportunity of her winning the hand of the prince, she gladly just leaves. In fact, leaving her dead father behind, who is now at this point mummified. Throughout the film, you start to see the body decaying because they have no money to bury her father, which she does bring up to the stepmother, like, hey, you know, you've been lavishly spending all this money on Elvira, making her more attractive, buying her all these really nice gowns, and my father is rotting away. Well, she's like, well, forget you, and leaves. and goes with the prince, leaving her father behind and the stable boy behind. She's opportunistic, she's flawed, and she's just as morally complicated as everyone else is in the film. Elvira, on the other hand, is starts off very, very likable. And some would argue they just love the character throughout the film because they're giving this character some love. But anyways, she is portrayed at the beginning as a younger girl, not fully grown into her body. She's awkward and spunky, and she's portrayed in the film as, they would say, unattractive. But she really does, at the beginning of the film, kind of have a sweetness to her that she cracks me up at the beginning. There's a scene where she's just kind of messing with herself in the face, you know, kind of pushing her cheeks together, and she's very innocent at heart. But as the film progresses, all these transformations start to take a toll on her. She loses weight because of the tapeworm. She gets, you know, new eyelashes, gets a brand new nose, and gets braces violently removed from her mouth. On the outside, she becomes what society would call beautiful, but on the inside, she's becoming bitter and broken. And if you think about it, it's kind of understandable how she becomes who she becomes in the film. She's trying to save her family by marrying this prince. She is actually a virgin when she clearly finds Cinderella is not a virgin. After all this work that she has strived to become herself more beautiful, and then you have Cinderella's just kind of natural beauty in the film. Cinderella comes and takes the prince out from under her, and Cinderella gets that fairy tale ending while Elvira gets something completely different. This story is not simply black and white, as you guys can see, but at the end of the film becomes a body horror fan's dream. The cutting off of the toes. This crazy scene, it's pretty wild. She vomits out the tapeworm. By then, it has just grown massive inside her, and it all just falls out of her mouth, violently vomiting. But at the end of the day, the film concludes just like the fairy tale. It even has some magic with it swaps out the fairy godmother to Cinderella's deceased actual mother. Kind of comes back, talks about the pumpkin and the magic dress. She won't be noticed at the ball. And like I said, she runs off with the prince, and Elvira is left with nothing. What makes this body horror film so effective is how it's using this body horror. The director said that she was actually heavily inspired by David Cronenberg, of all people. And you can really see that influence because David Cronenberg never uses body horror in his films simply for shock value. There's always a narrative behind it and a reasoning for it. And same can be said for The Ugly Stepsister. The body horror in The Ugly Stepsister really shows the length that women go to for the approval and the beauty standards that are set for them. It's a pretty powerful message, and the use of body horror to explore this is pretty incredible, actually. Now, going back to the second sight release, let's talk about the special features, because the special features in here, I honestly don't think there's one in here that misses. You're getting a brand new interview with the director, which I think, honestly, all these are a must watch. A brand new interview with the director, a brand new interview with the actress who portrays Elvira, and a brand new interview with the actress who portrays Agnes or Cinderella in the film. But my favorite out of all the interviews in here is there's one with the special effects artist, and where he talks about, obviously, his role in the film and kind of what the film represents for him. Incredible. But there's also another featurette in here with the special effects artist where he goes over every effect that is used in the film, where they kind of blend very minimally VFX with practical effects. This is a very practical heavy film. This did not have a huge budget, so the special effects artist had to get creative, and I think he did a phenomenal job. You know, the VFX shots in here are so subtle, you really can't tell. And even after learning about it, watching it again, you still have a hard time telling that, hey, those are actually VFX shots. Especially for a film with a small budget like this had, it's incredible. The booklet in here is just as you come to expect from Second Sight. There's actually an essay in here from the director herself. I think it's actually the first essay in here. That's a must read. It's very, very insightful into why the director did this film in the first place, and I loved it. Now, from Second Sight, we are getting this in Dolby Vision, and I think it looks stunning. Like I said, this was all shot practically, for the most part, real sets and all natural lighting. So all that paired with Dolby Vision looks stunning. You are getting a 5.1 audio mix, which I think sounds really great. No Dolby Atmos here, but it still sounds very full, very spaced very well. It's just great. So yeah, guys, you can probably tell I love this movie. I'm actually obsessed with this film. It's just so well done. You just have to see it to understand if you guys haven't seen it. And if you guys have seen it, after watching this video, watch it again through this lens and tell me what you guys think. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about the film. But if you guys do want to go ahead and pick up this Second Sight release, I'll have a link down below over to the movie room where you can pick this up. And of course, if you use my code MovieDen10, that'll save you a one-time 10% off your order. But guys, let me know down below, did you pick this release up? Are you planning to pick it up? And like I said, what you guys think of the film? But guys, that's going to be the end for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as I did talking about it. But anyways, of course, you all take care.